Well, hey there, guys. Welcome back to the Zeke Said So YouTube channel. And I am here to talk about something that I've been waiting for to happen for so long, and it finally happened. Kathleen Kennedy is no longer going to be at Lucasfilm. She is stepping down and retiring as the president of Lucasfilm. The retirement begins at the end of this week. And I'm so happy about this. I'm so happy about that. Um, so let's also calm down a little bit and let's talk about some stuff here, okay? Um, so let's start with let's start with Kathleen Kennedy as a whole, okay? Let's dissect this just a little bit, okay? So Kathleen Kennedy was chosen as the head of Lucasfilm by George Lucas. When Lucas sold the company to Disney, he chose Kathleen Kennedy to run Lucasfilm. Now that's fact, that's proven. And George Lucas has said that he chose Kathleen Kennedy. Okay, so the man who created this thing allowed her to shepherd this thing that he created. Now, what I will say is that Kathleen Kennedy is also one of the greatest producers to ever be in the Hollywood space. She just clearly is. She's produced some of the most iconic films of all time, like Jurassic Park, E.T., uh, uh, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. She's a fantastic producer. Steven Spielberg, the legendary director Steven Spielberg, calls her the greatest producer working in Hollywood. And yet, when she took over Lucasfilm, it has been a disaster, to say the least. She was not. Under her watch, we have had multiple filmmakers quit the Star Wars uh, directing scene as a result. Um, for example, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, they were fired off of Solo because she failed to get on the same page with them creatively. Uh, Gareth Edwards was pushed to the side towards the end of production on Rogue One. Uh, Other filmmakers like the Game of Thrones creators David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, they were ousted. Um, Ryan Johnson eventually didn't continue his Star Wars projects. Taika Waititi's is rumored to still be happening, but I don't think that's happening for long. Um, Damon Lindelof was let go. Damon Lindelof, who was a fantastic writer, he was eventually let go. Um, there's a lot. Patty Jenkins, who was supposed to do Rogue Squadron, she got let go because she couldn't get on the same page with Kathleen Kennedy. Now, they do have, and this was reported last week, but it is officially confirmed via the Hollywood Reporter has confirmed. The Hollywood Reporter confirmed it. Kathleen Kennedy steps down as George Lucas protege Dave Filoni and longtime Lucasfilm exec Lin-Wen Brennan take over Lucasfilm. Let me scroll down here and talk about what Dave Filoni will. Okay, so in her wake, EVP and Chief Creative Officer Dave Filoni has been promoted to oversee the creative direction of the company as president, and Chief Creative Officer. President and GM of Lucasfilm business, Lin Brennan, will handle the business side of things as co-president of Lucasfilm. Splitting creative and business duties is a common Disney strategy. At Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige and Louis D'Esposito are the respective sides of the head office, while Pixar is run by Pete Docter and Jim Morris, and Walt Disney Animation is overseen by Jared Bush and Clark Spencer. Filoni and Brennan will report to Alan Bergman, co-chairman of Disney Entertainment. So basically, we also have a James Gunn and Peter Safran situation here. That Dave Filoni is going to be running the creative side of things, and Lin Brennan is going to be running the business side of things. Now, as far as Lin Brennan goes, I don't really have that much experience with her. I don't really know a lot about her. And plus, she's handling the business side. The business side, keeping the business side and the creative side separate to two separate people, I think is a perfect is a perfect route to go. It's working with James Gunn and Peter Safran at DC, and it's clearly working for Pixar. With Pixar, you have Pete Docter running the creative aspect of things, and Jim Morris is running the business side. Kevin Feige, same thing. Kevin Feige's the creative. Louis D'Esposito's the business. However, I'm gonna say that after I take a sip of my my Diet Pepsi here. However, Dave Filoni does give me a little bit of hesitation because Dave Filoni hasn't really impressed me much with his work as of late. Not everything. I mean, yes, he gave us Clone Wars and Rebels, which were great. Clone Wars being fantastic. He has worked under Jon Favreau doing The Mandalorian. He's worked under Jon Favreau, so he's had time to really understand how live action should be done. But that being said, he also is the guy who was part of the creative team of Book of Boba Fett, and part of the creative team of Ahsoka, and part of the creative team of Mandalorian Season 3. You know, Skeleton Crew was good up until the ending. I thought the ending was a little weak, but Skeleton Crew was good, but Dave Filoni hasn't really impressed me with everything he's worked on. And also, I feel like my fear is if Dave Filoni becomes in charge of the when Dave Filoni being the head of creative on Star Wars means we're not going to get projects like Andor. We're not going to get projects like Andor ever again in Star Wars. We're not going to get projects like Last Jedi. You know, we're not going to get projects like The Last Jedi or Rogue One, which are movies that take risk and that are very dark, intense films and that are character-driven stories. Andor is a very character-driven story. Last Jedi is a very character-driven story. Rogue One is a very character-driven story. But you don't have... But with Dave Filoni very much focuses on how much fun can we make a Star Wars movie? You know, how much fun can we make it? Like, how much action can we... Like, the fact that, you know, the second half of Ahsoka... I mean, there were some great episodes in Ahsoka. Don't get me wrong. There were some fantastic episodes in Ahsoka. But, that being said, Ahsoka at times felt like an episode of Rebels. I remember watching Ahsoka and just thinking to myself, you know what? If this was an episode of Rebels, this would be fantastic. If this was like an episode of Star Wars Rebels, it'd be like one of the best shows on TV. It would be like one of the best animated shows of all time. But because they're treating it as live action, it doesn't really have that. It's live action that's trying to be animation, you know. And to me, that just kind of doesn't really sit well with me, you know. And that's my fear when Dave Filoni takes charge, is that we're not going to get stuff like Andor, which Andor is my favorite thing that Disney has done with Star Wars. Um, we won't get things like The Last Jedi, which was incredible. Like I know a lot of people don't like The Last Jedi, but Last Jedi is really really good. And all the stuff that it delves into as far as the Force and all the history of the Jedi, I don't think that stuff is really going to matter to Dave Filoni. I think it's more going to be about, hey, people really like the action stuff in Rebels. People like the action stuff in Clone Wars. So we're just gonna have characters go on these adventures, and we're gonna have the Mandalorian fight a giant monster because that's what people really want to see in Star Wars. No, no, no. We don't get me wrong. That stuff can be fun, but that's also part of my fear going into the Mandalorian and Grogu is that it's just gonna feel like another episode of a TV show rather than an actual movie that deserves to be seen on the biggest screen possible. You know, so there's some there is some caution to be taken here. Okay, don't get me wrong. I am more than thrilled. I am beyond thrilled that Kathleen Kennedy is no longer going to be the head of Lucasfilm. I'm beyond thrilled about that. But there is some hesitation because I know what Dave Filoni has worked on recently, and Dave Filoni has kind of been hit or miss for me lately. Now, that's not to say he won't be able to do that. That's not to say that he like for me, my thing is it's like I want something new. I want something different. I want Star Wars to go in a new direction. We have The Mandalorian and Grogu coming out, and we have, I think, a movie that potentially is probably going to be the best Star Wars movie we've had in a very long time with Sean Levy's Star Wars Starfighter, which I'm very much looking forward to Starfighter. And having that movie come out on the 50th anniversary, around Star Wars' 50th anniversary, is also really great too. Now, we are not going to see the effects of the regime of Dave Filoni and Lin-Manuel Brennan until after Starfighter comes out. Star Wars Starfighter comes out on May 28th, 2027. Okay? The only project that we are going to be able to judge Dave Filoni on is The Mandalorian and Grogu because he's one of the people that worked on that movie. But if Star Wars Starfighter comes out and it sucks, we can't blame Dave Filoni. But if it's great, we also can't give Dave Filoni the credit for Star Wars Starfighter. Because it wasn't greenlit under his regime, under him being the president of Lucasfilm. And really, not even under him as the chief creative officer, because he didn't become a chief creative officer until after Sean Levy came in with his Star Wars project. So look, there's some cautious optimism here. The important thing is that Kathleen Kennedy will no longer be the head of Lucasfilm. And that makes me happy. That makes me happy. That makes me so happy. Because I just think, look, it seemed like a really great hire. And there are some great things she did with Star Wars, like Andor. For me, Last Jedi. In fact, honestly, with all the Star Wars movies minus Solo, made $1 billion. So she's got some wins on her regime. And there's a reason why she was leading it for 14 years. And that's because they were impressed with the work that she was doing. Disney didn't care if the fan base was getting divided. All they cared about was, hey, Star Wars fans are still giving us we're still making $1.5 billion at the box office. We're still making $1.5 billion at the box office. So that's all that matters. You know. So Kathleen Kennedy does have some wins on her regime, but she's also had a lot of losses, and I think it was time for her to move on a long time ago, and I am very much glad that she is moving on. So, but yeah, guys, that will do it for this video. Just wanted to get this video out, just to get my thoughts on this. Um, I'm sure many people are gonna probably ask me about this in my in my DMs on Instagram. If you guys aren't following me on Instagram, just follow me at Zeke Said So Pictures. Yeah, I'm super excited, guys. I can't. I this is good news for a lot of reasons. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like the video, please make sure you leave a thumbs up and subscribe. I think I should subscribe to the channel because Zeke the Geek said so. And I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out. Scream about cinema.